Hey, today on Contractor Fight TV, we're going video number 3 in our series on gross profit, and we're going to talk all about your break-even point, what it is, and why it matters. Imagine you are on a cruise ship, and it's late at night, and you're out looking at the moon and the stars, and I don't know, somehow you get stupid, maybe you had too much tequila, whatever it is, you fall overboard, and you fall, I don't know, down into the water, into the Pacific Ocean, and the ship is pulling away, and you're out there in the middle of this big damn ocean. At this point, you have 3 options. Okay? Option number 1 is you sink to the bottom. Option number 2 is you find a boat and you get above the water like you just were before you fell off the ship. Option number 3 is you tread water to survive. Okay? Well, A is a bad choice. We don't want to sink. B is pretty unlikely that another boat's going to be coming along anytime soon. So option C, okay, treading water is the most important next step. And that's how I think of break-even point in the business. It's I'm floating. I just need to stay alive. This is a concept here that I'll shoot you straight here, guys. It took me a long time to be able to get my head around this. So if this is hard to keep up with right now, just rewind the video, do some of the math calculations that I'm going to give you through this, and just play with it. That's how I learned it over time, and it made sense for me. So if you're having a hard time keeping up with this, I've been there, I totally get it, but trust me, once it clicks, it's going to blow your mind and really open your eyes to how powerful the break-even point is in your business. So break-even point in your business, the break-even sales point, is found by taking your overhead and dividing it by your gross profit margin. Okay, so I'll give you an example here. Let's just pretend my monthly overhead is $17,000. That's, pays my salary, pays the rent for the building, pays for marketing, truck payments, all that other shit. Okay, we're not even doing any jobs at this point, right? It's just 17 grand to, quote, keep the lights on in the business. Now, let's also say for our example that our average gross profit margin is a 43%. I know we're preaching 50, but I'm just giving you an example here of 43. So that means on a $10,000 job, we're keeping $4,300. For every 10 grand, for every $1,000 that comes in revenue, we're keeping $430, and we have that to pay the overhead. So $17,000 in overhead, 43% gross profit margin. So our break-even sales point for that month is found by taking $17,000 divided by 0.43. Okay? That will give us a dollar amount of $34.88. So I need to collect that amount of money in order to break even in the business. Because here's how it works. If you take that $39,534.88 and you multiply that times 0.43, what's 43% of that? It'll give you $17,000, which is the exact amount of money you need to pay for your overhead, and you're basically zeroing out in your business. You're recovering your overhead with that. So here's an eye-opening exercise that I want you guys to try right now. Just pause the video or something. Take that same $17,000 of overhead and calculate a break-even sales point using different gross profit margin numbers. So for instance, maybe you're not getting a 43% right now, maybe you're getting a 30. So take the 17,000 divided by 0.30, it will give you a dollar amount that you actually have to sell. And then do the opposite, go the opposite way, do a 50%. Take the 17,000 divided by 0.50, 50%, it'll give you a break-even amount. What you'll see is the higher your gross profit margin is, the less you actually have to sell to break even, because you're keeping more of the money that's coming into the business. I'm going to give you another example here. Imagine you have 2 jobs. We still have our $17,000 of overhead, and instead of just doing one job at 39 grand, let's say you got a couple jobs that you're doing in that month, okay? You got one job for $15,000, and you got another job for $20,000. Okay, so you got 2 different jobs. You produce each job at exactly a 43% gross profit margin. That means you keep 43% of the money, and it costs you, what's that, 57% of the money to produce the work. So 57% of the dollars actually went to do the job. So job 1 at $15,000, a 43% gross profit is $6,450. Job 2 at 20 grand that you brought in, 43% is $8,600. So the total gross profit dollars you're keeping from both these jobs, $8,600 plus $6,450, is $15,050, and it's actually $1,950 short of your break-even point because you needed the 17 grand. Okay, see what I'm talking about here? So we get excited when we sell a $15,000 job. We get excited when we sell a $20,000 job. But you got to understand, how much of that do I have to keep just to break even? And in this case, we're $1,950 short on the month. We're drowning. Okay, you're like sinking in the ocean there. And this is one of those concepts that so many contractors don't understand. Okay, a lot of guys, here's one of the biggest mistakes. A lot of guys goes, my overhead is 17 grand, so that's my break-even point. Guys, that's not your break-even point. That's what you have to keep. Okay, you have to keep whatever that overhead amount is. After you sell and produce and pay for the work, you got to have that amount left. That's your break-even point. So imagine the 17 grand, it's like you're starting negative, right? I'm starting 17 grand in a hole, all right? And I've got to sell enough at a high enough gross profit margin to get me back up to zero, okay? So play with this stuff on your calculator. Here's a couple key takeaways before we get out of here today, okay? Number one, guys, you do not want to take on water, all right? So you have to know that break-even sales point in your business and raise your gross profit. We're going to talk about that in the next video. And then every day matters. Every single day of the month matters. You have to market. You have to sell. You have to produce, because if you don't, it's going to be that much harder to hit that break-even sales point and recover that overhead. So guys, join me in the next video. I'm going to actually show you the super simple way to bid your projects to get a 50% gross profit every time. We take most of the thinking out of it. You enter some things in. I'm going to get you a resource as well, where you enter some things in a spreadsheet. You hit a button, it tells you what you need to charge and all that other stuff. But play with your overhead right now. Your assignment right now is just figure out what your overhead is. Look at what your gross profit margin has been. Do the math and figure out what your monthly break-even sales point is, and post it in the comments below. I'd be curious to see what you got. You guys rock. I got to roll. We'll see you next time.